United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Begin the meeting with a moment of silence. And if you could keep in your thoughts Dennis Lacerda, who passed away on Sunday, January 20th. Dennis was a longtime police officer in the town of Whitman. There'll be a service for Dennis Friday, January 25th at the Blanchard Funeral Chapel on Plymouth Street. Meeting's being recorded and televised by a local cable company. I'd like a motion to approve bill and payroll warrants.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept correspondence in the read file.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public forum, now's the time for someone to speak on an item that's not on the agenda.
I'm not exactly sure if it's on the agenda under the budget, but I was
Well,
curious
there's an
about...
item called budget.
Yes, but I'm curious about the capital plan. I don't know if the capital plan is going to be discussed tonight, presented tonight or not.
No, I don't think there's going to be a capital plan presented tonight. We had a meeting on last week with the Collins Group, a group of people who a grant is allowing us to use. And they met with department heads, at least some department heads anyway, and I think the meetings are ongoing, and they're presenting us with a format for doing so.
So for fiscal year 2020, will there be a capital plan presented? In the bylaw, it says by January
know.
there would be.
I know it says that. No, I don't believe so, Frank. No capital plan for fiscal year 2020 as such.
I will meet with the Finance Committee and we will do some prioritization for capital this year, but a formal plan will not be.
And that'll be the product of the work we're doing with the Collins
Yes.
Group from UMass.
That is correct.
And who do I speak to about this matter? I mean, if I typically would come to the Board of Selectmen to uphold the bylaws, and the bylaws aren't being upheld by the Board of Selectmen, who do I speak to about this?
I'm not aware of any Court of Appeal above the Board of Selectmen, but I
Well,
assume
typically, the
if
Board of
you...
Appeals is set up to hear the appeal of anybody.
Well, that's
However,
true.
they have no authority over this board. I mean, you know, I totally get what you were asking and what you wanted, and I think what Frank and what the Finance Committee are going to put together is going to be what we're gonna get for a capital plan. So there will be a capital plan. Will it be a long-term plan? Will it be everything we want? No. And, you know, do we have money to actually finance this capital plan? Remains to be seen. But there will be a plan forthcoming, and we are working to get a permanent plan and an ongoing plan and a document that will be a living document that we're gonna be able to update constantly.
Sean, the short answer is I will present to the board a report of the capital conditions, but it won't be what you're looking for.
I think what I'm looking for is specifically what's in the bylaws. In the bylaws, it says specifically there will be a 5-year capital plan, and it will be presented by January. That's very specific. I was here in June. I was asking about the timeline. I was here in July. I was here in August. I was here in October. In October, at the end of October, I believe, I realized it was in the bylaws, because I had been pushing, obviously, for a bylaw. And at that point, you said you were going to, I think you applied for the grants. And I think the grants are a great idea, but it seems to be a long-term project. And right now, my major concern is fiscal year 2020. So
Sean, I have
I don't,
5 pages, literally, 5 pages on 11 by 17 paper of what are going to be capital requests this year. They're not counting the DPW, they will be well in excess of $3 million. So will we have a plan to put together? We'll develop one. Will it address all those needs? No, it won't, because it can't. The revenue isn't there. And I understand what you're saying, but I thought it was pretty clear from the conversations you had previously with the board that we were engaging a company, that we wouldn't meet the timeline you're looking for, and we're not going to meet that timeline.
Yeah, I don't know really where you're going. I'm looking specifically at the bylaw. I've been asking about a 5-year capital plan for an extended period of time, going back into last year. And to be honest, I would like to know who I speak to about this. If the Board of Selectmen swore an oath to uphold the bylaw and you're not. And this isn't an issue that obviously hasn't been made public. So
I think it's been made very public, Sean. I would disagree with you.
Well, let me ask you, what would you recommend that we do?
well,
If you're sitting on the Board of Selectmen and I'm standing there, what is it that you,
I think what I would
other
have,
than get the project done that we're working to do?
specifically what I would have done, I would
Not
have
what you
had.
would have done, but in this position right now, you're up here asking us to do something. What do you want us to
Well,
do?
which is the same thing, which is funny you mention that, because it's the same thing it was said to me before town meeting last year. Shawnee not offering any solutions because we have to do something right now. And I was saying we should start the process now.
Okay, but the
and
process
I
has
keep
started.
asking, but-
You're asking us specifically, there's a violation of the general bylaw,
You-
and you want to know what we're going to do about it.
I've been very proactive about this. Like I said, I was here in June, I was here in July. I showed up at all those meetings and I was asking what the timeline was. Now you're saying you don't have a 5-year capital plan when it's supposed to be presented by the bylaw. So who then do I speak to?
Us, that's it. Attorney General, you can file it in district court, have an injunction in ordering us to get it done, and hopefully by the time you get back, we'll be pretty close to being done with it. But other than that, we're doing everything that we can.
Everything that you can. Okay, so when was the last time the Building Facility and Capital Committee met?
We failed to get a quorum last month.
So when was the last time they met?
August, July,
I don't know.
one of those two.
I don't know. I'm not on that committee. Sean, if I remember correctly, I know you've been asking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
And you know the answer before you get up to the podium, what it's going to be. Because you've been told that we did not have the resources to develop a sensible 5-year plan at the time frame that you wanted. We know that we have missed the deadline. We know that we have missed the deadline for the bylaw. We knew we were going to miss the deadline for the bylaw, and I'm pretty sure we were clear to you that that's what was going to happen. The next best thing we could do, in order to have a 5-year plan that's going to make any sense, a capital plan that takes into account all kinds of things. We applied for a grant, and we have engaged with the Collins Group. We've had, as I said, one meeting. And the people that were here from UMass have met with some department heads, so there's a process that's starting. I don't know what your point is to let us know that you've been here 3 or 4 times asking the same question, getting an answer that we weren't going to get it done unless you merely want to be here to embarrass the board. If that's your reason, fine, you've exhausted
My
it.
specific purpose is to have a 5-year capital plan.
Pardon me?
And uphold the bylaw.
Pardon me?
My specific purpose is to have a 5-year capital plan. I would like to see
And
that.
I think I also recall asking you if you would be willing to chair a capital planning committee,
You did.
and you refused.
I don't think it would be in the best interest for me to chair a committee that's of the sitting people that have a working group. I mean, Mr. Salvucci's on the committee, Mr. Linham's on the committee, Mr. Cadero's on the committee. I mean, these are people that are used to working together. To throw me in a position like that, it doesn't make sense when we're under the gun. You know, we're in a crisis this year. For fiscal year 2020, and I think having a capital plan, and I've said this for a while, to give people so they can analyze it before they're going to make an investment for like an override is appropriate.
We might have a
Yeah.
different view about what a capital plan is, because I'm not sure that our issue this year in 2020 is the lack of a capital plan.
I think it's one piece. I think the strategic plan is another major piece. I think the budget document is another major piece. I think having some,
But a capital plan isn't the major piece, from my point of view. from my point of view. You have to have capital to satisfy a capital.
I don't, unfortunately, I'm not here to convince you, I'm here to ask about the bylaw. The bylaw is very
And
specific.
it's been
I'm
asked
asking
and
about-
answered, Sean.
It's asked and answered every time you come. Just not the answer you'd like. Now, if you want to go to, as no, you suggested,
Probably the AG.
as Scott suggested, the Attorney General's office.
Thank you.
Be my guest. Anyone else? Approval of meeting minutes. Open session, December 18th, 2018.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Going to ask to go into an executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exception 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
We will be returning immediately after this executive session. I don't expect it to be a long one for the rest of the meeting. We will not have an executive session tonight at the end of the meeting like we usually do. Okay, we're in. Clear out.
Last week, they're not anything we're going to be acting on tonight, but we're going to be reviewing the results of the meetings and the budgets that are under the Board of Selectmen. I'm also going to be presenting what we best know as of this point, what a capital request, and it's ironic that came up early because
Well, yeah, I have point of clarification. I don't, we can't call what we do every year a five-year capital plan.
no, we
What
can't.
we do is review what people think they need to spend in capital spending and recommend judgments to town meeting that then votes. So it's not as if there's no activity around capital spending.
Well,
In fact, there's been some significant activity around capital spending over the last number of years. We don't have, and what Sean asked for, over and over and over again, is a plan that's thought out with the long range in mind. And we haven't done that.
We have
He's
not.
absolutely right about that. But that's where we are. For some people maybe to understand, if they were to understand that there is no thought given into what is spent each year in capital expenses would be a faulty assumption.
that would be a gross misstatement. Each year, for as long as I can recall, we have prepared for budget, we have requested capital articles, we have reviewed the money that we had available in that particular cycle for capital, then prioritized those requests, generally seeing requests roll 1 or 2 years before we could meet them. What's happening now is the floodgates are opening, and we have a tremendous amount of capital requests and limited funds to work with it. So we are formalizing the process. There will be a formal, I'm going to say action plan in place for a 5-year capital plan. I just can't tell you how much money we have. If you look just at the school's capital requests, they tremendously exceed what's available. So it's going to be a lot of work.
Anything else? Anyone have any questions for Frank?
Not at this point. I hope we'll be bringing the articles, the requests for warrant articles was put out at our last
Right.
meeting, and we have had some responses. I'm still waiting for both articles and capital requests from other departments, and we'll be following them up so that we can have a sense of what the requests are when we meet in February. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask if we could set that February date now.
Sure, and this is going to be a joint meeting with the Finance Committee,
Yes.
in which we share information, and by that time, I believe the schools will have had, no, wait a minute, when if one of the
We
schools...
still won't have the school budget.
Because their first meeting in February will be when they're going to roll it out,
I think
Right.
that's the 6th.
and that's the
I
6th.
think it's the 6th.
So-
It's the first Wednesday. I think that's what they said when we were there the other night.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember, the 6th of February.
Yes.
Well, what if we were to meet on the 12th and 26th?
That would work.
That works for me.
And when did, the meeting that you're talking about, or the subject matter that you're talking about, will we have been able to
Yes.
digest what the schools rolled out by the 12th, or?
I hope
do
so.
that meeting on the 26th? Okay. So we'll have that, that'll be the 12th.
I do have one question, Frank, if you, on this 2020 capital requests, do you have a total on what that amount is for that?
I don't, because we're still adding them.
Still added,
And any of the ones that you see that are blocked
yep,
are requests without fund amounts.
okay.
Technology presented their, Josh presented the technology requests last Tuesday at the Finance Committee meeting, so I've just incorporated them.
Okay.
So we can expect to have a joint meeting with the Finance Committee on the 12th.
Yes,
Anything else?
not at this time.
Okay, next item on the agenda, budget review. That would be Scott. Do you want to report on the?
Okay, I'll defer. to-
If I may, the group did meet at the high school last week, and we've narrowed our focus to a process. We've been discussing a whole bunch of different options as they relate to budget, when really our intent, as I understand it, in getting to this committee, is to formalize the steps to be taken in beginning, preparing, and submitting the budget. And that's a timeline that we started working on next week. I will formalize the information, circulate it, and plan another meeting.
Okay.
I think there was a lot accomplished there. I was there. That Frank was chairing, and we got very specific on the dates, when we should do this, when we should do that, and I think that's what we need. We need some kind of a chronological plan that we can use year after year on this plan, because I think if we're held our feet to the fire on a calendar type basis, I think that we're going to be in a much better place. So I thought it was very helpful.
Thank you, Brian. We had a date in place to have a 5-year plan or two, so
Yeah.
just,
A lot of things change.
things have to,
Yeah.
we have
But
to-
it's nice to have at least an outline
Right.
of when we should be at a certain point.
Community assessment, Frank, do you want to report on the meeting we had with Dr.
Sure.
Tarsi?
Very positive. We had some preliminary responses, which were all electronic. There are 500, I believe, written responses that still have to be keyed into the system in order to produce the preliminary results.
She
There were-
thought she'd have a draft by the end of January,
Right.
if I remember correctly.
Yes.
We haven't heard since.
Right.
Since last week.
And it'll be interesting to see how the paper responses compare to the electronics, because presumably most of the electronic submissions are younger, primarily younger people and like to see where the perspectives lie.
Okay. Kind of looking forward to finally translating the results of that into an introduction to a strategic plan that makes some sense of the community and whatever hopes and dreams it has and actions that need to be taken. Liaison report. Scott, you wanted to remind people about something?
Yes, return your town census. Promptly, please. Not you, but everybody.
I think I did.
Okay.
Okay, so,
But there was a request from Don Varley, our town clerk, that everybody returns their town census.
A quick note on that is if you don't return it, they remove you from the voting rolls.
No stockades anymore, just,
So you, no stockades,
Okay.
but you want to stay on the voting rolls,
Yep.
return the census.
And the
Yeah.
process, if you don't return them to be removed from the voting rolls, is even more onerous because it involves several mailings. We have to pay for postage both ways to get the message out. And it's a lot easier to get the census back.
Right.
okay, and
I-
Brian, you wanted to jump in on
Yeah,
the liaison reports and
Just because
Say
it
something.
just happened this morning, I reached out to the Whitman Food Pantry this morning, and I talked with Jim Davidson, who's very active down there, and I was inquiring as to any help for any furloughed federal employees. And in fact, I'm happy to report that they will help. So if you know of anyone who works for the federal government who's furloughed and live in Whitman, or you do, contact Jim Davidson down at the Whitman Food Pantry, because they'd be happy to help you through the, hopefully, a short-term scenario.
thank you. New business. Act on the request of Chief Benton to appoint Richard Billings to the position of Special Police Officer through June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Act on the request of Auto Sales Express Incorporated, Alexander Lubko, to increase the number of vehicles for sale on the premises located at 960R Temple Street, subject to a revised site plan being submitted to and approved by Building Commissioner Robert Curran.
So moved.
Is there a
Mr.
second? Is there any discussion? Frank?
Mr. Curran was out to assess the property condition. He's recommending that the increase in vehicles be 100, not the 140 requested. He's also made some specific recommendations regarding parking, handicapped accessibility parking, and space next to customer parking. So the draft plan is here. Once the board acts on the approval, if it chooses to do so, to authorize 100 cars, then it will formalize that process.
Did he?
Do we
is
have
this
a
Alexander?
license pending on this?
Did he, have you talked to the commissioner about this? You aware of the change?
So we actually have a handicap parking in a similar place.
Is it on the plan?
It's a little bit in different place. So set put on the corner, like we have a one
Yeah.
spot in the middle right there, but we can just change the space this one.
They're going to rearrange it to make the handicap parking more
Works with Bob,
accessible to
that's
the
fine with
store.
me.
Okay, so we like a motion to approve the request to increase the number of vehicles at 960R Temple Street to 100, and subject to the approval of the building commissioner.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any further questions or discussion of Mr. Lubko? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Look,
Good luck. Take action to revoke the Class 2 auto dealer's license held by the Auto Connection Victor Amaral on the premises located at 1023 Temple Street.
so moved.
Second.
Second. Frank, would you like to?
Yes, this was a renewal that involved back taxes. Taxes were paid the payment was returned unpaid, and
This was last week's agenda. Is this the one we did last week,
I think did we table
2
tonight?
weeks ago?
I don't remember.
no, that was the one on Essex Street.
Oh, that's right, yeah, yeah.
So this is something we hadn't anticipated, but since the taxes are due, we can issue a license.
So is he currently out there operating?
I believe so until we pull the license. Oh, we did pull the license. Yeah,
So he's been out there, he's told him to cease and desist.
yep.
He did receive the license.
Okay. So move.
Okay, I think it has been moved and seconded.
Yep.
Any further questions? All those in favor of revoking the license held by the Auto Connection? Aye.
Aye.
And the last item on the agenda was to set the February meeting schedule, which we did. So there's nothing left to do except ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're out.